Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. We're live on Radio Row in Houston, Texas, site of the men's Final Four, and we're lucky enough to get a few minutes with Coach Bruce Pearl of the Auburn Tigers. Coach, congrats. Go out in the second round, lose to Houston, but overall a great season, right?
We rebuilt the roster a little bit and, was able to get in the tournament and advance, which is hard to do.
Yeah. So you lost to Houston and you played Alabama during the season. So you know these number one seeds in this tournament. How surprised are you that we have all lower seeds and not those powerhouses?
I'm not surprised, because even though we talked about, let's say, Houston or Purdue or Alabama, every year there's no great team. Like, everybody had weaknesses. Purdue's had really, really young guards. Houston did not have a lot of depth. Alabama was still young, and a tough physical team could bother Alabama. When I saw the matchup against San Diego State, I knew that was going to be a tough matchup for Alabama, because they were older, they were tougher, they could keep those kids in front of them a little bit, and they kind of rock them, sock them, beat them up a little bit, and that was the way to beat Alabama.
I think, are you contractually obligated to nitpick everything about Alabama when you're the head coach of Auburn?
No, because listen, I've always said, here I am on CBS Radio saying Nato's one of the best coaches in the country. He does a great job. They do a really good job evaluating players. They play the right way. But like I said, all teams had weaknesses.
Of course.
We played Alabama twice, and we lost to them in Tuscaloosa in overtime. The margin of victory for Alabama in Tuscaloosa was like 25 points. We had a 17-point lead in the second half that we lost. That hurts. I still wake up like that hurts.
How
right?
long does that stay with you?
Forever.
Yeah.
But so therefore, I knew that when we were there late in the year, and they weren't playing great, I knew that. I mean, they were vulnerable.
I mean, everyone's talking about this, but is this the state of the game where we're going to see schools like San Diego State and FAU in the Final Four, and not necessarily Blue Bloods?
Well, I think it depends on how the Blue Bloods respond, in the sense that, right now, if you are a top 30 high school player, not just McDonald's All-American or a little bit above, you got a chance to play in a Power 5 conference as a freshman. If you're above that, and obviously, back in the day, and I used to recruit 30 to about 150, those guys were good enough to come and play some as a freshman. They're not now. So they come into a high major Power 5 program and sit, and they're not being patient. They don't want to wait till their sophomore or junior year when they're ready. So they leave. Well, why should we invest in a freshman? Do all the work, put the 15 pounds on him, get a little hair on his ass, do the things that need to be done, and then have them go leave. We're better off getting in the transfer portal and letting somebody else do some of that work, and all of a sudden, that's sort of what's happening. So, yes, in answer to your question, I think you're going to see it. It makes more teams eligible to be able to advance through this tournament.
It's so crazy. Bruce Pearl is here with us on our set at the Final Four, head coach of the Auburn men's basketball team. So how much, break down the percentage of your recruiting, transfer portal versus high schools? What's the breakdown now?
Yeah, so the transfer has been in 2 years now. So my first year, we got one high school player. His name was Jabari Smith. Pretty good.
Not
bad.
We've heard of him.
Yeah.
Third overall in the draft last year.
No doubt. All right. And then I had 4 transfers, and all 4 of them played. The following year, partly because of the makeup of my roster, I had some juniors that were coming back, and I did not want to transfer portal over them. Should I have? Maybe. Iron does sharpen iron, and let them all compete. I probably should have, but I didn't. So I brought in one transfer, Janai Broom. He was second team all-conference. He went from the Ohio Valley as one of their best players to all of a sudden, can I do it in the SEC level? Answer, yes, he can. And he had a great year for us. So, and then 3 freshmen. 2 of my freshmen didn't play very much and are in the transfer portal. I would love to have had them back for another year or 2, because they're going to be really good players someday, but just not today.
Well,
and that's what's hard about. So, in answer to your question, probably 1 high school player and 3 or 4 transfers.
It sounds like the job has changed of head coach in college basketball a lot. Do you think that's part of the reason we're seeing a lot of the old legendary coaches, and even not that old, like Jay Wright, walk away? Do you think it's a different job than it was 15 years ago?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's changed for sure. I think the hard thing about it is it's people say to me, have the kids changed? Because everybody thinks the kids have changed. And I say, a little bit, but not that much. But the parents have changed a lot. If your son is playing baseball and he's not batting cleanup, rather than telling him to stop swinging at the high ones, right, or spend some more time in the cage, we're just going to go find another team that'll promise they're going to bat you cleanup. My son's not pitching. He's not pitching. I'm just going to go put him on a team. I'm going to move schools. And so what we as parents do, we always want to fix it for our kids. You know what? No, you know what? Let the kids fix it. Let them figure out a way to go through a little bit of adversity and whatever. Now, look, I love the freedom of our country to do anything, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with transferring. I've transferred up several times in my career, took pay cuts to move on, to become whatever. It's great. It's the land of opportunity. So I'm not about that. But we are kind of teaching the kids to flee, not fight. And as a coach who tries to bring people together and like, look, these teams that are in this tournament right now, they say they love each other. They really do. They've really worked hard together to come together as a team, and that's what wins championships. And when you let the kids bail so easily, I mean, there are kids that have got 4 high schools in 4 years. It's something wrong with it. What kind of a dad are they going to be? What kind of a husband are they going to be? First time they have a bad argument, are they out? Are they out the door? That's the thing that could. And my job as a coach and a teacher is to try to get my guys ready to get out there in life and be a great father and be able to provide and be able to. But if they're constantly just jumping every time things get tough, it's not what I believe we're supposed to be doing, and what I think we're supposed to be teaching.
Bruce Pearl is our guest. So are you recruiting Bronny James?
No, not because he's not good enough. Would love Bronny. Bronny's a great defender and a great shooter, and obviously got pretty good pedigree, right?
We think so.
But he's out there in California. My way of thinking is he either stays out west or maybe goes to Ohio State or something like that, where, back in Ohio where his dad, grew up. Who knows? Maybe he'll go to Akron. But no, it was fun to watch him in the McDonald's All-American game. It was even funner watching my point guard, Aiden Holloway.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Did you? I have to look at the track record. Did you recruit LeBron at all, or no?
No, whether I was at Iowa or Tennessee or wherever I was not in position to recruit LeBron, but I watched him in high school.
Yeah.
And he was a freak, even back then. Just a different. He was a man-child back then, but a lot of man-children don't continue to evolve. Mm-hmm. They're bigger and stronger than everybody else, and then all of a sudden LeBron took those gifts and he just built on them to become the world's greatest.
We're talking with Bruce Pearl. So obviously one of the most famous alums on the sports side for Auburn is clearly Charles Barkley. Sat down with 60 Minutes recently and was like, this NIL is going to make it so, the pool of contestants is going to be so shallow. And then here we are with 3 teams in the Final Four for the very first time. So it didn't come true this year. But Charles was really critical of the college game. Did you agree with some of the things he said?
I love the fact that Charles is old school. It's funny because you don't see many guys in the world of entertainment that are a little right, little conservative, Charles believes in tuition, room, board, books, and fees. Look what it did for him, giving him the opportunity to then do something.
He also said he took 20 grand.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Back in the day. But listen, I'm all for the NIL. I think it's great that these kids have an opportunity to not just go when they're done playing work at the Subway, but own 6 of them. I'm all for it, and this adjustment should have been made years ago.
Yeah.
Coach, we're interviewing a lot of great coaches today, legendary coaches, but I decided to wear a shirt to honor you. So I picked it out today just because you're going to be here.
Oh, my God. I remember that shirt back in Tennessee, right?
Maybe. Because Jim Boeheim's coming on a little later.
Oh, that's Pearl Washington at Syracuse.
Yeah, did they make an orange Bruce Pearl t-shirt?
Yeah. Bruce was my homeboy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Pearl's girls. I had not quite Pearl, but hey, how quick a pickup it was for me to go to Pearl Washington.
Yeah.
Not many
Pretty
people
good.
are you going to have on the show old enough to know who Pearl Washington was.
Yeah, by the way, when he was talking about the old coaches leaving the game, he wasn't talking about you, by the way.
Yeah, especially when he's talking about the Hall of Fame. I've been in a few Hall of Shames.
And maybe a Hall of Fame at the end of this, but a lot more years to coach. Bruce Pearl, congratulations on, again, another great season. And for Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, now 3rd in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. I mean, pretty cool stuff.
Thanks, Maggie.
Congrats.
War Eagle.